I was thinking about it, like, what do we do if we had the ability to go back in time 100 years? No, 200 years. If we could go back 200 years and shape what happens next with the Civil War and with Hitler and everything else, what should we have done differently? What should Abraham Lincoln have done differently to prevent the South rising again, quote unquote? Which, in effect, I believe is what's just happened. The South rose again, as they said. The Confederacy, the fox is in the hen house, if you will. What should we have done? What should Lincoln have done differently? In my opinion, I believe he should have, and this is going to be controversial. Let me think about it for a second. Do I think that's a good idea? He should have executed all of the top-ranking leadership of the Confederacy, or put them in prison for the rest of their lives, one or the other, I suppose. All of them, every one of them. Don't let them run for Congress again. Don't shake hands with them. Don't let them influence the laws. Don't show that everything's normal. I don't give a I don't care about unity in that case. You just tried to overthrow the U.S. government. You belong in prison for the rest of your life. First of all, that would have shown a no exceptions policy for this extremism. And you know what else I would have done in the Civil War? I would have done what Americans did in Germany after World War II, after they took control, which is to say, I would have banned the saying, "The South will rise again." I would have banned Confederate flags. You know, there's a free speech thing, and that's extremely important, of course, but the reason that they banned swastikas in Germany and like banned religious leaders from giving political talks from the pulpit is because that's how Hitler brainwashed it into people in the first place, putting swastikas all over the place and literally banning people from not saying Heil Hitler. If they didn't answer the phone, Heil Hitler, or answer the door, Heil Hitler, or passing a friend on the street, if they didn't throw up the Bellamy salute or the Hitler salute or whatever, if they didn't do those things, they would go to a concentration camp. That is how Hitler programmed this stuff into them. And that's how it had to be programmed out. When you're dealing with a cult to this degree, you can either talk it out of them or you can force it out of them. With Jehovah's Witnesses, you can talk it out or you can force it out. We, of course, cannot force it out of Jehovah's Witnesses by banning things, by forcing pastors or, forcing people not to give certain sermons or whatever. We can't do that legally. And I wouldn't do that with Jehovah's Witnesses. But when you're dealing with a literal death cult that just murdered millions and millions of people, and you have to deprogram an entire country en masse, what do you do? Is it justified to suspend civil rights in that case? I don't know. Tell me what you think. Is it? I'm asking. Is it acceptable in that case, in the Nazi case? If your answer is yes, as I'm tentatively, for the thought experiment, accepting, I would say that we should have done that exact thing in the Civil War. Ban the phrases that go along with, the slogans and the catchphrases, the South will rise again and whatever. Ban the Confederate flag, execute or jail all of the leadership, and have victims of the Confederacy write letters, endorsement letters. They called those Pasilschein letters in Germany after the war. Victims of the Holocaust could endorse you, basically. If you were accused of Nazi crimes, you're like a concentration camp guard or something, you could get a letter from a victim and say, and the letter would say, yeah, they helped me. They were subversive to the group or whatever, and they were working behind the scenes to help others. Pasilschein, and they were in Spruchhammer courts. I'm pronouncing them wrong. I'm doing my best. So that's what I would have done with the Confederacy. In America, I think I might have done the exact same thing. Like after World War II, I might have done the same thing as was done in Germany. It's complicated. Real Pumpkin J says, German here, and the answer is an unequivocal yes. It is okay to suspend civil rights when you're dealing with a literal death cult that is literally murdering people that are not, for racist reasons or whatever. The complicated part about it is that the reason, or one of the many reasons, that Hitler was even capable of doing what he did was because they had democracy forced on them by France and stuff. After World War One, after they lost World War One, they were forced to do certain things. They were forced to, write a constitution and create a democratic republic, basically. There was a civil war brewing in Germany before the Weimar Republic. And when they created the Constitution in Weimar, Germany, I believe, they wrote in, they wrote in provisions so that the president could basically take control of everything to put down a rebellion, to quell a rebellion. That's why that's why he even had the legal power to do any of the shit that he did, was because they wrote it in specifically to prevent a rebellion from taking place. But here's the real problem. If the wrong person takes control of the country, they can use that provision in the Constitution against democracy to destroy it. So it's kind of a double-edged sword that you have to grapple with. Do you put in provisions to suspend civil rights for people if there's a serious thing happening that needs to be put down, like a rebellion? Or do you ban that entirely to protect against tyrannical leaders and try to deal with a rebellion in another way? In my opinion, I haven't thought this out very much, so I'm of course willing to have my mind changed on this, but tentatively I'm thinking authoritarian leaders don't respect laws anyway. Hitler followed the laws mostly, but stretched them completely out of proportion. But it didn't matter in the end anyway. Hitler would have warped the law to his benefit no matter what it said. Authoritarian leaders will always warp the law to their benefit. That's just how it works. But if we put in a provision to protect against authoritarians, then maybe I'm thinking maybe that would be preferable. They're going to use it anyway. They're going to abuse it anyway. So why not add that lever in for us to be able to protect against it? The president of every country has incredible power. Well, we saw that with South Korea. They, I believe, declared a state of emergency, which is how this starts. This is how authoritarianism starts. They declare a state of emergency, and then they never let go of the state of emergency. Because the state of emergency gives the president complete power. Throughout history, leaders have relied on the military to maintain control. Whoever has the military has control of the country. And up to now, we've had this understanding that no matter what, the military of the United States will respect the Constitution, and they will also follow the president's instructions, whatever they happen to be. Constitution comes first, though. But it hasn't always been the case in other countries. Like in Turkey, they had a coup, a legal coup where the military, it was a military coup. They tried to basically take over against Erdogan's wishes. They took it from Erdogan. And of course, he ordered a bunch of people to come in and whatever. The point is that the military controls everything. And whoever controls the military controls the country. When you declare a state of emergency like that, you take control of the military and you turn them into the police. Everything that you write is law. Your dictates are law. And the military execute your law for you. It's the type of thing that's only ever supposed to be used if society is basically collapsing, or if a massive bomb is dropped on the country and there's anarchy and nobody knows what's happening or what to do. There are some cases in which emergency powers are used for other things, Justin Trudeau used emergency powers during COVID, and all of the weird little MAGA nutcases in Canada, I guess MCGA, Make Canada Great Again, they were all saying Trudeau's never going to give up his emergency powers. They're going to stay in, whatever forever and all that shit. And of course, that never happened. That didn't happen. He gave them up and that was the end of it. But That is how dictatorships begin. They just misjudged Trudeau. He's not the type that would be a dictator, that would like maintain power for long periods of time. Anyway, I guess the point that I'm getting to is I believe that maybe we should have a provision in the Constitution that allows for us to quell civil insurrection, to put down like rebellions, like in Civil War style. And in the end, it's not going to matter. Like, authoritarians going to use it anyway, whether it's in there or not. They're going to do that. They're going to find a way. Like, Trump is finding a way right now by replacing the administrative state with his sycophants. But yeah, tell me what you think. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. That basically happened in Taiwan, and we still hold the second place for the length of imposition of martial law. Really interesting. Yeah, South Korea. It happened in South Korea, of course, recently, and the blowback was immense. The military came to the aid of. By the way, this is a system. The military protects the king and all that. This system has existed for thousands of years. This exact thing. Kings have always snuggled up to the military to guarantee that they would have the support of the military if they chose to, whatever. There are books written about it from the Middle Ages. There's a book called The Keys to Kingship or something like that. But kings have always tried to do this, is the point. There really needs to be an article in the Constitution that details limitations of power of the president. Oh, wait, that already exists. Yeah. Unfortunately, authoritarians are going to completely ignore it. They're not going to pay any attention to those provisions. Like Donald Trump, birthright citizenship is written into the Constitution. It would take a constitutional amendment to reverse it. But Trump says he's going to reverse it by executive order, of all things. Like, that's not how it works. This is what I'm talking about. These people will do this shit whether it's legal or not. It's irrelevant. Trump is going to force authoritarianism on the United States no matter what. It's irrelevant if it's in the Constitution. He's just going to do it. It just depends on the people in the country if they're going to allow it to happen. Like, if the people throw a fit about it, if they protest, if they don't accept it, as in South Korea recently, then it's a different situation. A person can only stay in power with the support of those under him, the military or the people or both. People protested in South Korea like mad, and the president said, "Oh no, I wasn't doing a coup. It wasn't a coup. I swear to God, it wasn't a coup. I'm sorry." And now he's under arrest. It was definitely a coup, though the military was on his side. Protest does work. I know it feels like it doesn't, but it actually does, really. Anyway, yeah. Let me know what you think.